Hello, beautiful people. Today is 18th of April. My name is Sahil, and welcome to Newspaper Analysis. Guys, we all know Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, the missile man of India and the man of integrity. He says, if you salute your duty, you need not salute anybody. But if you pollute your duty, you have to salute everybody. Now, friends, this particular statement indicates as how a man of compromised integrity needs to depend on everybody's patronage for his survival, whereas a man of integrity and standards can perform his duty, can perform his dharma without anybody's sweet will. Guys, for you guys who are aspiring to be the civil servant, needs to understand the gravity of this particular dictum. Guys, we can use this particular quote in our GS paper number 4 under the heading Qualities of a Civil Servant. So, guys, let's begin with today's analysis. Guys, this is the page number 1 of the Hindu newspaper. Into the first news item, we can see that the government has said that the time taken to double the cases of the COVID 19 has been increased. So, this is a good news for India. Now, according to the article, the time taken to double the cases have been increased to 6.2 days, and earlier it was 3 days just before the lockdown was announced. So, the news item is saying that the lockdown has proved to be fruitful as the doubling of cases is being registered in more days. Now, after that, a large data has been given into the news item. For example, how many people have been recovered, how many people are newly getting infected, and all these kind of things. Obviously, they are not important for our exam. Now, let's analyze the particular issue. Now, guys, the thing which makes COVID 19 as dangerous is that it was registering an exponential growth. Now, exponential growth graph looks like this. So, guys, what happens into the exponential growth? The time taken to double the cases keeps on reducing. For example, first 100 cases were registered in 10 days. Now, the double 200 cases will be registered in 8 days. Now then double 400 cases will be registered in 6 days, 4 days, 2 days, 1 day. So this particular kind of pattern, when it will be seen, then the growth will be exponential. This will be the graph. However, guys, if the time taken to double the cases keeps on increasing, then this exponential graph will not be there, and we can see that graph will take a kind of a U shape, inverted U shape, and there will be a kind of a circumstance when the time taken to double the cases will increase substantially, and after a particular point the cases will start to decline, and that will be the time when the COVID-19 will finally wither away. However, guys, it will still be too soon to conclude any of this thing. Moreover, this particular episode can indicate one more thing. Guys, we have often talked that India needs to flatten the curve. I have said you that there is a particular capacity of the healthcare. For example, this line represents the healthcare's capacity. Now, if the number of cases will increase very rapidly, then what will happen? The people will not be able to take the benefit of the healthcare, and our healthcare system will collapse. However, if the same number of cases are scattered over a period of time, then the thing is that if this will be the growth rate, then what will happen? The cases are coming, but the cases are coming over a expanded period of time. Then we will not be breaching our limits of our healthcare system, and we will be able to deal with the thing. So, guys, if we need to flatten this curve, we need to increase the duration, increase the number of days which are being taken to double the cases. So this entire episode could be a good news for India, but it is still too early to conclude anything. Now it could indicate that the exponential growth might not be encountered and we are receding that particular thing, and it could also be an indication that India might be able to flatten the curve. Guys, I have discussed flatten the curve into the earlier editorials. And guys, apart from this entire thing, there is one more thing, that the number of people that are being cured, their number is also being increased. So therefore, the effective number of cases or the active number of cases are also being reduced. Active number of cases are like this. For example, 1000 people got infected, 200 recovered, then 800 are the active cases. So till now, the active cases are also being reduced. However, still, there is one thing where India needs to worry. Guys, the ratio of people recovered and people died, their ratio is 80 to 20. For example, if there were 100 people which were infected, out of that 80 people recovered and 20 people died. So this 20 digit is disturbing, and here India is behind the most of the countries, so it is a disturbing thing. Now government is saying that they will further contain this particular thing. What government is doing here? Government is now indigenously making the RT-PCR testing kits, which is used to test the prevalence of COVID-19 virus into a patient. Moreover, that particular thing, government is also planning to make rapid antibody testing kits, which will further be enhancing the testing in India. Then guys, various notable initiatives have also been started. For example, convalescent plasma technique. Various states have started this particular thing. Now guys, what happens into the convalescent plasma technique? Suppose this is a person who had infected the COVID-19 and now he has recovered. And because he has recovered, his blood will be containing the antibodies which helped this person to fight with the COVID-19. Now, what we can do? We can take the blood plasma of this person A and we can transfuse this blood plasma into this person Mr. B, who has been infected with COVID-19. Now guys, due to this transfusion, the antibodies of Mr. A will be transferred to Mr. B, and now Mr. B will gain the immunity to fight with the COVID-19 and will be able to successfully come out of the coronavirus and will be healthy. So this particular thing, plasma technique, has shown immense potential into the China and now is being started by the Kerala, Delhi, and various other governments are also taking initiatives. Now, guys, one more thing. ICMR has declared that the coronavirus in India is not showing much of the mutation, and if the mutation will not be there, then the virus's genetic structure will not undergo change and the vaccines will be more effective. So this is also good thing on India's front. However, side by side, various indigenous industries as well as experts are working on to the development of COVID-19 drugs. For example, if I tell you BCG drugs are being tested for its efficiency against COVID-19. Guys, BCG vaccine is primarily given to develop immunity against tuberculosis, but it has been said that the BCG drug is effective into the COVID-19 also. So these claims are also being tested. So guys, this was all about this article. Now we'll move to the next article. Now, friends, the next editorial, RBI is planning to inject money into the system to inject liquidity. Now, this particular article we will be discussing with the editorial, where I will be taking one more editorial from the Indian Express. So, we'll discuss this thing. So, friends, there is a next one more news onto the page number where the government had declared minor forest produce to be a part of an exempted list and they can resume their functioning after 20th of April with a reduced strength. Now, guys, minor forest produce happens to be a major activity which supports the livelihood of large number of tribals. Now, guys, if we look a little bit towards the background, that you might be knowing that there are large number of people who are living into the forest and they depend on them for their sustenance. Now, when the Britishers came to India, they brought a variety of legislations by which the people who were living into the forest, they were disconnected from their forest, and to do this thing, British government brought a large number of legislation. For example, Forest Act 1865, though its initiation began in 1864, and the next is Forest Act 1927. So these people were denied their rights onto the forest. Now, guys, in order to recognize their rights, government came out with Forest Right Act 2006. And the people, two categories of people were given rights here. One are the scheduled tribes and other are the forest dwellers. So guys, both of them, forest dwellers means the people who are living for last 75 years or 3 generations into the forest, and the scheduled tribes which have been notified by the government, the provided they should be living there before 2005, they are given rights, and in these rights they are given the rights of non timber minor forest produce. So guys, it includes items such as bamboo, root seeds, fruit, flower, plant, etc. And guys, These things could be collected by them, they can sell them, and they can get money by which they can sustain themselves. And guys, if I give you one point for your mains, this thing is showing that now government is moving towards the right based approach, where government is giving you the things as a matter of your right and not just as a thing of a welfareist tendency. Now, one more thing, please keep into your mind for your prelims as well as mains, the minor forest produce, they are also given MSP, that is minimum support price by the government. So these people can sell these items to the government at a pre-designated price also. Now, friends, into the recent time, as a lockdown was announced, the people were not allowed to collect the minor forest produce also, due to which their livelihood were being suffered. Now, the government has said that the minor forest produce is now exempted and the activity could be resumed. Moreover, guys, apart from the minor forest produce, the plantations in South India, such as plantation of bamboo, cocoa, spices, etc., have also been given an exemption. And credit cooperative societies, along with NBFCs, have also been given exemption if they function at the less number of staff. So, guys, this was all about this news item. And now we'll move to the next item. Now, friends, here's the news on page number 4, which says that tribals are using indigenous practices to sustain their livelihood. Now, friends, the tribe mentioned into the article, they are the Bhil tribe who resides into the region of Banswara, which is into the South Rajasthan. Now, if we look on the map, then this region is Banswara, which is the southern Rajasthan, and it is a tri-junction between three states. On one side there is Gujarat, on other side there is Madhya Pradesh, and on third side there is Rajasthan. And the Banswara region, apart from the major center for Bhil tribe, it is the region from where Mahi River also passes. Guys, Mahi River originates into Madhya Pradesh. It goes through Rajasthan and empties into Gujarat into the Arabian Sea. And guys, on the Mahi River, one dam has also been built, which is called as Mahi Bajaj Sagar Dam, and this dam is also into the Banswara. One more little fact, Banswara is also called as Chera Punji of Rajasthan because it is the place which receives the highest rain in the Rajasthan. Now, friends, it has been suggested into the article that COVID 19 is not leading any impact onto the Bhil tribes because of their indigenous practices, which includes consuming the locally grown food such as locally grown vegetables, rajan, dhimda, kodra, bati, bauta, and all these kind of things. Moreover, major chunk of their dietary cuisine is grown in their kitchen gardens, which these tribal women develop in their households. Guys, these things, first of all, could be locally procured, and secondly, their dietary supplements and and nutritious value is such that they are helping the tribes to fight with the COVID 19, and they had developed a better immunity. And this is also a fact that none of the case into the Banswara has been registered into the tribes. So this particular thing could be used as an example that how resorting to the indigenous habits and indigenous customs, food habits can also give a healthy lifestyle along with making a community self-sufficient and self-dependent. So just for an example, keep this thing into your mind. Now we'll go to the next article. Now, friends, there's a news item on page number 5 which says that the new testing kit for COVID 19 has been prepared. Now, friends, the name of the testing kit is Chitra Gene Lemp N. The kit has been made by an indigenous institute whose name is Shri Chitra Trunal Institute for Medical Science and Technology. Guys, the name of the institute is not that much important. Please remember the name of the kit. Now, this particular institution is funded by the DST, that is Department of Science and Technology. Guys, the new kit, that is Chitra Gene Lemp N, is promising that the test results could be given into the 2 hours, which is the substantial reduction into the time which is now being taken by the kits. With respect to the certification, National Institute of Virology, which is headquartered in Pune, its sister organization, National Institute of Virology, Alpuza, had given the approval. But now, approval is to be taken by the ICMR and from the Central Drug Standards Control Organization, CDSCO. After that, the kits would be used for the testing of COVID 19. Now, friends, CDSCO, that is Central Drug Standard Control Organization, is the Indian regulator for pharmaceutical and medical devices. Now, as there is FDA, Food and Drug Administration in USA. On the same lines, there is a CDSCO in India. So, guys, it gives certification. So, the kit need to get the certification from them. Now, further, CDSCO works under Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. Now, after CDSCO, if we talk about ICMR, so guys, ICMR was founded in 1911 by the name of IRFA, that is Indian Research Fund Association, and was redesignated as ICMR in 1949. Guys, right now ICMR is funded by Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, and it particularly works as a biomedical research institution and finds the cure for various ailments. So guys, it is researching on tuberculosis, cholera and other viral kind of diseases, including the present COVID-19. So it is a research institution, and CDSCO is a regulatory body which give the licenses. So when the kit, that is Chitra Gene Lemp N, will be developed, so what will be, guys, process here? DST is financing, National Institute of Virology and ICMR will see whether the kit is effective in identifying the viral infection or not, and the final license will be given by the CDSCO. Now, guys, exactly what is the test? Presently, to ascertain the COVID 19, RT-PCR test is conducted, which is called as Rapid Reverse Transcription Polymerase Chain Reaction Test. Guys, if you know, then SARS-CoV-2 virus, which causes the COVID 19, is a kind of an RNA virus. Now, into this particular RT-PCR test, what is done? First of all, this RNA is converted into the DNA, and then particular strands of viruses are identified, and then those particular strands are multiplied into the millions and billions of copies to make assertion that whether it is the COVID-19 or not. Now, guys, primers and probes are also used to identify whether it is SARS-CoV-2 or other virus. So this entire process is followed into the RT-PCR. Now, guys, with respect to detailed working of RT-PCR, I have made a video on 5th of April. There I had discussed the entire mechanism of RT-PCR from the science and tech angle. If you want for your exam, you can refer the 5th of April newspaper. Now, friends, the test which has been developed is called as Chitra Gene Lemp N test, as I have told you. Now, it uses a new technology which is called as reverse transcriptase loop mediated amplification test, and it could be abbreviated as RT lamp. Now, guys, what happens? This particular test zooms the virus and try to identify a specific batch of gene. Here, N type of gene is looked for. Though in this direction, WHO recommends that E and RDRP genes should be identified, but US CDC recommends that N gene should be identified because it gives more kind of a confirmation. So guys, the Chitra gene lamp will be identifying N type of gene. Moreover, identification of N gene is also done into the China and Germany. However, all the three genes could be identified for the testing of COVID-19. Moreover, guys, in this direction, RNA extraction machine, probes, primers, everything could be procured in India. And for this particular things, we don't need to depend on imports, and our testing capabilities will be further augmented. So, guys, this was all about this article. Now we'll move to the next article. So, guys, now we'll move to the editorial section. Now, the first editorial that I am taking talks about RBI's liquidity boost which has been provided. Guys, here I have clubbed one editorial from the Hindu newspaper and other editorial from the Indian Express. I will also be including one news item from the page number 1. Now, as we all know, that economy is facing a crisis because of COVID-19. Therefore, in order to bring economy on track, Reserve Bank of India has issued a booster plan. Guys, this entire booster plan could be sum totaled into 4 verticals. Friends, the health of an economy depends on the liquidity that it is flowing from an economy. If it is more, then economy will be impacted and inflation will be coming. And if such liquidity will be less, then again there will be implication and the economy will be going into a kind of a slump. So therefore an adequate balance of liquidity is to be maintained. Now guys, what happens as lockdown is being imposed, all the economic activities have came to a standstill, and in all this scenario our economy can go to a slump because liquidity is starved from the system. Now, what had happened? First vertical is that a 50,000 crore stimulus is being given to the NBFC, that is the non-banking financial companies. Now, guys, earlier Reserve Bank of India came with an economic package where it was said that the people who have taken loan from the banks, they need not to give their monthly installments. Now, we'll take one example to understand that what is going on. Now, friends, he is Mr. Ramu and he had taken a loan from the NBFC. Now, friends, NBFCs are deposit taking as well as a non deposit taking. Large number of NBFCs are non deposit taking. So, NBFCs in turn depend on the bank to for their capital requirements. So now what is happening? Because the RBI has issued the circular, Mr. Ram need not to give the installment to the NBFC. But the same thing into the earlier circular was not extended to the NBFCs. NBFCs anyhow had to give the money to the banks because they have also taken the money. So what happened? Money stopped coming from here, but NBFCs were still giving the money. Therefore, NBFCs were starved of the liquidity. Now, guys, it has been said that 50,000 crore rupees stimulus is being given to the NBFCs through the banks so that the crunch of liquidity which has been faced earlier could be recovered now and the NBFC's health could be restored. Now, guys, after that, on the second vertical, 50,000 crore rupees stimulus has been given to the refinancing agencies, and these agencies are such as NABARD, SIDBI, National Housing Bank. Now, guys, if we take example of NABARD, NABARD provides the developmental assistance, financial assistance for the rural areas. Similarly, SIDBI stands for Small Industries Development Bank of India, and they are focused towards the small industries as well as MSME sector. And then there is the National Housing Bank, which meets the housing related capital requirement of people. Now, guys, when the money will be infused in these three organizations, money will travel to the people ultimately, and they will be using that money to meet their requirements. Guys, please keep this thing into your mind. They directly don't interact with the customers, they give money to the banks and other financial institutions. For example, NABARD will give money to the RRBs and RRBs will give money to the customers. They directly don't interact. However, money will flow into the economy. Now, guys, into the third vertical, Reserve Bank of India had increased the limit of ways and means advance. Now, guys, what had happened? Whenever the state government will face the shortfall into their expenditure and revenue they are getting, then they can raise the shortfalling money from the Reserve Bank of India under the WMA facility. But under WMA window, a limited amount of money could be borrowed, unlimited money cannot be borrowed. Now, as COVID 19 is proceeding, states need to spend more and more money, therefore, their requirement of cash will be increased and they will be needing more revenue. So, now what had done, the limit under WMA has been increased by 60% so that more money could be raised by the state governments and they don't face the liquidity crunch. And now on the fourth vertical, long-term repo operations are announced for the bank. Guys, what happens? So first of all, there are the repo rate. Repo rate is that rate at which Reserve Bank of India gives money to the banks, and in return, bank will be giving to the Reserve Bank of India securities. Now, in all this arrangement, when money is going to the banks, Reserve Bank of India will also charge an interest rate, and now this interest rate is called as repo rate. Now, guys, this was about the repo rate. Now, the issue is this, that repo rate are often having a very less maturity. Most of the time, the repo rates have a maturity of overnight, but into the some cases they are extended to 7 days, 14 days, and 28 days. So, most of the times the maturity is less than 28 days. However, guys, as a part of a special mechanism, long term repo operations are being given, under which Reserve Bank of India will give money to the banks, but they don't need to return that particular money into the 14 or 28 days. Rather, they can return that money into the 2 to 3 years. What will happen? Reserve Bank of India will give cheap credit to the banks will give that money to the customers, and customers, by using that money, will expand their production and will use them for their demand. Guys, at the same time, reverse repo rate has been reduced to 3.5%. Now, reverse repo rate is opposite to repo rate, where bank gives money to the Reserve Bank of India, and Reserve Bank of India will now be giving the interest rate to the banks, and this interest rate is called as reverse repo rate. Guys, if this reverse repo rate will be higher, then the banks will indulge into a practice which is called as lazy banking. In lazy banking, what happens? Bank will park all of their or majority of their money to the Reserve Bank of India and will not give the such money to the customers. So therefore, in order to discourage the lazy banking, the reverse repo rate has been reduced very much, so that banks don't have incentive to lend money to the RBI and they should give money to the customers. Guys, one more thing I would like to clarify, that banks are also provided that they cannot use the LTRO money for buying the bond of the government and the PSUs, because earlier banks have done this thing, and in this particular thing the money will end up going to the government and money will not go to the public. So therefore it has been said that if they want to invest, they can invest that money into the bond of the NBFCs, so that NBFCs will use that money to give to the customers. So guys, these are the four vertical of reforms which has been taken. First of all, stimulus is being given to the NBFCs so that NBFCs are not cash crunched. Secondly, stimulus is being given to the refinancing agencies so that they give money to other institutions such as RRB, microfinance, etc., and they give money to the customers. Thirdly, WMA limit has been increased for the state so that they can spend more. Fourthly, LTRO has been expanded for the banks so that they get the long term credit, and that credit could be given to the customer, to the NBFCs, and to other sectors. So guys, in this way, the Reserve Bank of India is ensuring enough of the liquidity into the system. Guys, moreover, whenever we are talking about inducing liquidity into the system, a problem comes that it can lead to the inflation. But now the Reserve Bank of India had said that inflation is into the manageable limits and will be going even below the 4%, which happens to be the lower limit of inflation in India. So these things will not be bringing that much of a problem. So guys, this was all about this article. Now we'll move to the next article. Friends, in this article, the case study of Kerala has been discussed as how Kerala is emerging resilient in fighting COVID 19. Now, in this regard, as COVID 19 is proceeding, all the countries have responded, and India had responded with a strategy of lockdown. Though, guys, lockdown has been cited as a strategy of gaining more and more time so that state governments can design a coordinated response. Even the WHO has called it as a strategy of gaining time. But on the ground level, they are the states who are implementing the measures and fighting the disease. At the same time, they are also given the responsibility to carry on the welfare of all the people. And when we are talking about all these responsibilities, one state has emerged to be the best performer, and that state happens to be the Kerala. Now, friends, Kerala was one where the first case of the COVID 19 was registered, and initially it was one of the red zone states into the country. But now the cases have been controlled, and there are more number of people who have been cured than the people who are still infected, and now the very less number of cases are being registered. Guys, when we see the case of Kerala, Kerala has a very long history of migration, and a lot of international linkages have been there with the global world, due to which Kerala was even more susceptible. And even that thing had happened into the past also, when the Kerala sea has seen the outbreak of Nipah virus. And guys, this time also, because of the close integration with the global world, the first case was registered into the Kerala. But still, Kerala has been able to flatten the curve. I have told you that the strategies around the world is that we need to expand the time in which the cases are coming so that healthcare system is not collapsed. and Kerala had achieved the flattening of curve because less number of cases are now coming every day. How Kerala was successful in doing all these kind of things? So guys, there was an article which was published into the Washington Post, and it says that the Kerala's strategy is there because of aggressive testing, contact tracing, a long quarantining, and by building a successful shelter home for the migrant workers so that they don't involve into the migration and does not spreads the virus into the other areas. And in this direction, all thing was possible by a liberal economic package which was announced by the Kerala government and stands to the tune of 20,000 crore rupees. This was announced even before the government announced the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana. So by this fiscal space, all these activities were carried and people were provided the basic necessities of their life. Now, if we venture as why Kerala was successful in this particular regard, we need to understand the Kerala's social democracy. Now, friends, first of all, democracies are all about the relation between the state and the citizens. And this relation, if it is cordial, then the democracy will be healthy. And if the relation is not cordial, then the democracy will not be able to carry the welfare of the citizens. Now, what happens? This relationship evolves, and Kerala has seen a large number of protests into the past. For example, there was the temple entry movement, then there was the literacy movement, and then there was the movement, for example, temple entry and all these kind of things. Now guys, what has happened due to these all movements? A kind of a dialogue opened between the citizens as well as between the state, and a kind of a bond was made by which the citizen understand the responsibility towards the state, and the same thing is being carried by the state for their citizens also. In this direction, we can see that because of this bond was developed, a large number of welfare and citizen centric opportunities are being carried by the state government, and the people, they trust the government because of this particular thing. Then after that particular thing, there is a vigilant role of the civil society, and from time to time they hold the political leadership accountable to the duties that they are supposed to perform, due to which political class stays accountable to the citizen, and citizen feel empowered and feels a belongingness towards the state. Guys, after that particular thing, the trust is also built by empowering the local institutions. And when we see the case of Kerala's local institutions are most empowered and most resourceful when compared to any part of the country. And by this local empowerment, the trust has further been developed, and into this times of crisis, people were there with the government. So, guys, in this entire story, we find that the Kerala was able to respond by mobilizing their financial resources. For example, initially only 20,000 crore rupees package was announced, and secondly, by using their societal resources by the kind of a link and the bond that has been there into the citizen as well as state. Now, if we look towards the chronology of events that took place, first of all, the moment the pandemic was announced, the state government and its actors constantly fulfilled all the directives that were issued, and all the coordination was carried. Moreover, guys, after that particular thing, in order to achieve the compliance from the citizens, dedicated functional teams were made and Delhi press conference were organized so that people can know what is going on to the ground. So guys, transparency played an important role here. Moreover, a very broad healthcare system has been developed into Kerala, which was mobilized, and at the same time, civil society was also activated, and it voluntarily gave door to door city services to the citizens and helped the government, for example, in quarantining and for the contact tracing. And guys, in this particular respect, Kudambashari movement also played an important role in contact tracing and organizing the community kitchens. Guys, Kodumbishri is a self-help group which was organized in the year 1980s, and it is purely a citizen-centric initiative which is not affiliated to any political party. Their campaign is to build the resilience into the societies and in order to empower the people. So they also played an important role here. Now, after all, the major thing which helped to overcome the crisis was the dedicated coordination between all the actors, starting from panchayat to the above government and even including the citizens from the step by step. Now, guys, after them, if we talk about the demographic benefits that Kerala is having, first of all, the Kerala state is very much populated, but the financial indicators and economic indicators are good there. Moreover, it has the highest literacy rate, a vibrant local media which helps in understanding the present situation, and the WhatsApp fake messages are not taken seriously and citizens comply with the authorities. Guys, in this particular respect, the trust, again I am quoting, has played an important role and Kerala was effectively able to flatten the curve. Now, guys, in all this direction, the lessons could be learned by other state governments also in order to have an effective fight against the COVID-19. So, guys, this was all about this article. Now we'll move to the next. Guys, this particular article discusses the shortcoming of ADL. Now, please keep this thing into your mind whenever you are discussing the concept of ADL. Please don't use the name of any political party or a political person or a state also. You can use the name, you need to use the diplomatic words that in one of the state this particular thing had happened, and avoid using the names. Now, guys, into the parliamentary democracies all around the world, the politics boils to the number. The party who has the large numbers will be forming the government. Now, in this particular thing, many a times horse trading takes place. Political persons chosen on one party tends to join the other political party in lieu of any monetary benefit or into a lieu of any ministerial berth. This thing was also happening into India, and this thing was actually a breach of parliamentary trust, a breach of democratic trust. Whenever a person votes for a particular person, he is not voting for only that person, he is voting for the party, for ideology, and a lot of things. Now, guys, when a person leaves one political party and joins other political party, this thing is called as defection, and in order to stop this defection, government of India brought anti defection law. So by 52nd Constitutional Amendment Act, 10th schedule was added to the Indian Constitution, which popularly came to be known as anti defection law. Now, by the virtue of anti defection law, if a person was chosen from a political party's ticket, he cannot join any other political party. Fine, nor he can become now independent. Secondly, if there was a person who fought elections independently, now he cannot join any other political party. Thirdly, for the nominated members, if they want, they need to join political parties within the duration of 6 months, and after 6 months, they cannot join a political. And if any one of them does not abides to what has been given into the anti-defection law, the person will be disqualified from their house, and the decision will be given by the presiding officer, and his decision will be final. However, guys, there is one exception also, that all these things will not be applicable if there is a merger. Merger means when 2 by third of the members are joining any other political. Now, guys, though the safeguards have been provided, but they have been utterly failed, and still legislators, in the lieu of horse trading, are leaving the political parties. Now, what has happened because of the things? Now, the retail defections have been turned into the wholesale defections, and a large number of people are either leaving the party. Secondly, the legislators have searched for a new way. Now, what they do, they resign from the political party X and join the political party Y. Either many a times they are not disqualified by the presiding officer because his decision is binding, so they continue. Or if they are disqualified by the presiding officer, then the bypolls are conducted, and into the bypolls, many a times they win, and again on the second political party's name, they come and they sit into the house. So, anyhow, things have not been changed as what they were originally. Now, if we take the example of Karnataka, then what happened in Karnataka was that the legislators, they resigned from the political party named ABC and joined the other political party, and when they were disqualified, they went to the bypolls, and in bypolls they emerged victorious. Guys, in this particular respect, the Speaker of Karnataka did a novel thing. First, what he did, first of all, he disqualified them, and after disqualifying them, he also barred them that for the remaining term they cannot contest the election. However, the legislators approached the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court provided that such a provision could not be allowed, and they were given permission to contest the elections. Guys, now the Madhya Pradesh have also seen the kind of wholesale horse trading, and the same thing might happen in the Madhya Pradesh also. Now a question comes that what is the relevance of anti-defection law altogether? There are certain problems. First of all, the legislator, they are being under a binding that they cannot deny the direction of their whip and cannot vote contrary to their political parties. If they do that thing, they could be disqualified under the ADL. Now guys, on this particular front, it kills the spirit of parliamentary democracy. And in Kyoto Holohan case, it was said that the anti-defection law is unconstitutional as it is taking the freedom of speech and expression. However, Supreme Court said that anti-defection law could be continued, but still there is a judicial review on the decision of the presiding officer. Guys, there is a second one more thing, that even after the person has been disqualified, he can come to the power by fighting the bypoll as happened into the Karnataka. What we should do now, into the first particular respect, it has been suggested by the Dinesh Goswami committee that the whip could only be issued as per ADL when the voting is for the confidence motion of the political party, because this is a very important matter for a political party, and if it is not passed, then the political party will fall. So only here you could direct them that they have to vote as per the whip, otherwise that thing should not be there. Moreover guys, into the second particular respect, we need to change the anti-defection law, and it will require a constitutional amendment act. And what was done by the Speaker of the Karnataka Assembly, that thing should be made as a rule that whenever a legislator is leaving the political party, he should be disqualified for his remaining term. In this way, the relief could be achieved and ADL will be able to serve the purpose for which it was made. So guys, this was all about this article. Now we'll move to the next article. Guys, there's a news item on page number 10 which says that government had initiated the mobile application of Kisan Rath. Now, as we know that due to the lockdown, the supply chain has been broken and the goods are not being able to transported from the farm to the APMC mandi or other mandi for that particular purpose, and from mandi to other secondary mandis as well as to the customers. So we need that there should be the proper movement of goods, and for that particular thing Kisan Rath will be coming. This app will connect the farmers and traders with a network of more than 5 lakh trucks and 20,000 tractors. Guys, this particular application has been developed by the National Informatics Center and will help to restore the supply chain management. So guys, as I told you earlier, they will be supporting the goods from farm to the mandis or to the local houses or to the collection centers, as well as they will be transporting the goods to the secondary local mandis as well as to the intrastate and interstate mandis, processing units, railway stations. So guys, don't go much more deeper into this particular thing. Moreover, apart from the trucks, the refrigerated vehicles will also be provided so that perishable items don't go stale. Now guys, when we talk in this particular thing, we had seen National Information. Guys, NIC is under the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, and it is providing the digital infrastructure to government in line with its Digital India program. So guys, this was all about the today's newspaper. The major news items in the economy section I have covered with your editorial as well. Guys, I hope that you are liking our discussion on the newspaper. Guys, if you like our effort, then please do share and please do subscribe to our channel, and please help us spreading this novel initiative to other people as well. Thank you so much.